And welcome to Goal Chat Live. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the Deb Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. And every Sunday night, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then on Mondays, I bring in cool people to dive deeper into the topic. And today is, it's one of those, if something can go wrong, everything goes wrong, right? Things. So two of our guests have made it here, but apparently StreamYard does not love me today. So Susan, if you are watching, please check your email and click that link and jump on in. And in the meantime, we will look forward to having you join the conversation. And I have absolutely no idea why StreamYard sent you elsewhere. And if you are watching and you love fitness or you don't love fitness, you have some interest in fitness because you're here, please let us know you're here in the comments, and also share what it is you love about fitness. And the reason I chose fitness is the August theme is fun. And because it's fun, it's important to talk about all things exciting like fitness. And if fitness is fun, fun is fitness. And then, oh, Susan's here. I talked enough. Yay. Let me bring her on in. Susan, you made it.
Yeah, I was sitting in another room.
I have absolutely no idea why, but I appreciate your diligence and effort in joining us today. And I feel like I should start over, but I'm not going to. I'll just back up a touch. And what I was saying is my August theme is fun. And I was thinking about what's fun. And I chose fitness because when fitness is fun, you will do it. And if you will do it, then you will be fit. So it's the whole decision tree of fun into fitness. Anyway, I have some wonderful guests today. I'm really excited to introduce you to. And we're going to start. I'll introduce you all, and then you can introduce yourselves better. And we have Steve Brossman, who's the Sales Innovator. And we had a conversation. We met through Grand Connection, and then we had one of those after chats. And I'm like, I'm talking about fitness. And he said, oh, I am so your guy. So I'm thrilled you're here. And then we have Susan Valot, who I have known for years because Susan took one of my goal setting workshops years ago, like pre-Deb Method goal setting workshops. And I've spoken for her a few times, and I just think it's awesome because we've had very few face-to-faces, and I'm thrilled because I know she is a fitness enthusiast and she integrates it into everything, and I really wanted that perspective. And then also we have Carmen Miranda, who's my newest friend. We were on a Finding Fabulous / Ladies Take the Lead networking event just like a week and a half ago, and I'm like, you have to come talk fitness. And the other reason is she was wearing a necklace with all gold stars, and anybody who knows me knows this is my power symbol. So I knew immediately that Carmen and I would be friends. And the other purpose of this is we're going to talk about fitness from the literal to the actual. And I think we've got some wonderful perspectives. So without further ado, Steve, why don't you start by introducing yourself better? And I think you can absolutely do that, considering I just said, hey, Steve's cool, be on my show. So please tell the world a little bit more about you, and we'll go from there.
Well, that's about as much as the direction that I got. So, hey, anything's possible. As you could possibly tell, I am from the land down under, and it's nice and early in the morning here. Lovely to join you guys, but I've already been up. The sun's up, and I was out on my hour or so ride. So fitness has been a massive part of my life ever since I was growing up. I left school and then turned professional track athlete, and I was training for the Los Angeles Olympics when I crushed 3 discs in my back, which you can't really run that well with a crushed back. So through rehab, I actually fell in love with the health and fitness industry and opened up my own health club in 1983, possibly before some of you guys were born. But anyhow, that's how long I've been in business and had a touch in the health and fitness industry. But I saw what was going on. And I said, hey, I want to do things a little differently. And consequently, I did. We set up programs for kids, for seniors, for weight loss, for rehab, aqua fitness way back in then, and really led the field in some small areas. And fortunately enough, I got to travel the world, got to speak in 15 countries on health and fitness, and that has helped me have a broader understanding from way back then to what's been going on now. And over the last 10 or 15 years, I haven't been involved so much in the direct health and fitness, but more in business, sales and marketing. But I've always had clients in that area, and recently spoke on a healthy aging summit. And that was one of the things that we did back in '84 as well, released a video on chair-based exercise for seniors. So it's a matter of, I've been around a while, seen a lot, and I guess anything you can throw at us, we'll be able to bring to the table today.
Well, wonderful. Well, I'm thrilled you could join in. And I think I'm going to swap you over for Susan. And Susan, welcome. Great to see you. I'm glad you found us.
So I'm Susan Valot. I'm a public radio reporter, podcast host and producer, and an adjunct professor. So I'm a pretty much typical freelancer here in California. And fitness wise, I was the kid who grew up playing softball, hated running. To this day, I hate running. And like, when you think about fitness, you think about things like running, and it's like, oh, that's terrible. And I was always prone to shin splints and all this stuff. And so when I was in my mid-20s, I worked with some hockey nuts, and they started showing me the game of hockey, and then I started skating once a week, and then they had a women's clinic, and I tried that, and then I invested in the gear. And so I have been playing hockey now, ice hockey, for 20-something years. I play usually on a couple of teams. We've just started back since the pandemic. The pandemic took all of that away, right? We couldn't, ice hockey is something where you're breathing hard on other people. So it's not the ideal game to play during, like when germs are floating around. But during that time, then I took up hiking locally, and I've always liked hiking, like on trips and things like that. But now I go 3 to 5 days a week. I go a couple miles a day. It's uphill, downhill. There's no like level ground. And one funny story, just as an aside, I thought initially when I started a couple months into hiking, I thought like, oh no, my leg is swollen. And then I felt the other leg, and I'm like, oh my God, I have new muscles. So, yes, I have new muscles in the past year right above my kneecaps from
Congratulations.
down hills. But yeah, so I've done stuff like yoga, things like that. But what I found is really finding something that you love and then working around any injuries that you have.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're here to bring your perspective to the conversation. And Carmen, will you please introduce yourself now?
Yes. First, thank you for having me. I love your energy. I was so excited to just be here and have this combo with you and everyone else. So thank you. I'm Carmen. I am founder of Intuitively Fit 360 Coaching. Born and raised New Yorker. I literally just relocated a few months ago to Los Angeles. I've been in the fitness industry for a little over 15 years now. And I support women who are struggling to release and actually keep off weight for the long term. And, I do this by helping them connect with their body's cues and to strengthen their intuition on what works specifically for them. I work based on the idea that in order to actually release and keep off weight, you have to know yourself, right? Like there's this like deep inner like self-awareness that can support you. It's about like knowing what foods work for you, like knowing what kind of movements you enjoy, what feels good for you, how you need to like rest and recover and self-care for you. It's really about knowing you. And in a world where we live in a heavily saturated market around like so many different diet plans and quick fix workouts and stuff like that, it just ends up being unrealistic and unsustainable for the long term. And I'm sure a lot of us, a lot of people have experienced that and bumped against those walls from time to time, and it can be really disappointing. when you're trying to work towards something or you just want to take care of yourself. So, I work from a holistic standpoint, and I really focus on integrating the entirety of the person in the way that I work. Like, who are you? What do you like? What do you enjoy? What is your lifestyle like? What do you need? Like, we really go into who this person is on an individual level, and we build a plan from there. I really believe that when, not even believe in, but what I see is that when your fitness plan comes from you, it comes from who you are individually and what it is that you enjoy. Like you said, Deb, you're much more likely to stick it out for the long term. And I really noticed that once I shifted my approach over time and started working from this standpoint, women really began to make shifts in their life, but actually sustain it for the long term. And, we're able to stop bumping against those walls that they kept hitting from time to time. Yeah,
it's really the know thyself factor. And as I mentioned before, we met at an event a couple weeks ago, and what you said is something that I say frequently is you have to think about the long term. So my big thing is figure out your goaltopia. What is the life you want? And you build the plan to get there. And I was like, it's the gold stars and the philosophy. So I knew that we would definitely be friends. So let's dial it back a little to just the basic question, which is, what is fitness? And it seems obvious, but I don't care. Steve, go.
Well, to answer the question, I'll start with another question. Fit for what?
Ooh.
And that's the big thing. Like, I was a track sprinter, but don't ever get me to run a mile when I was training for the 100 meters. Later on, when I actually got back and more mobile again, I was helping people train for half marathons, but I could never get them to sprint. They probably could never cycle or climb a mountain. So fitness is whatever you want it to be performing at whatever your optimum is for what your goal is for your movement and health. And it was interesting that back in 83, 84, when I set up the health club, us and just about everybody else in the health and fitness industry, it was basically the gym, body beautiful industry back then, they were just basically selling hard work and sweat. And then the weight loss industry virtually came to town with all the trimming and toning tables and all of those wonderful rip-off things that really didn't work except lighten their hip pocket. And we were complaining because we were getting our butt kicked. We were charging a few $100s for our gym membership, and they were charging thousands. But what it was is they were selling the aspiration, we were selling the perspiration. We were selling what we thought people needed, not what they actually wanted, which is where, Carmen, what you're working with the women on is overcoming some of the beliefs inside, what they believe fitness is and what they should aspire to because of all of the, pardon the French, the crap marketing that goes on, that this is what you should be. Whereas it should be the evolution. It should be the journey of becoming your best self. Now, as a competitive track athlete, my best self was just thrashing myself to the limit because I was competitive, whereas other people, their best self may be just movement. And we worked with a lot of people that just getting to the gym was the most exercise that they'd done in 3 years. So it was about what is fitness to them and being able to facilitate getting them to the next level and the next level and the next level. And the old saying of progressive overload, a little more, a little harder, or a little heavier. And you will always get results. And how do we set the right goals? In my book called Exceed, which is how to exceed your own personal and professional expectations, we talk about momentum goals. Is set the goal that you're going to not only achieve, but smash through, that gives you that great feeling that you're going on to the next one and then on to the next one and the next one. And I believe that's what fitness is. And your own personal fitness today could be different for tomorrow. It's wherever you are in your life. So it's try to break out of the stereotype of what fitness is and what we see on those ads is to what it means to you to enhance your life. And that to me is pretty well what I believe fitness is and should be.
Love it. So true. It's such a personal thing. But being healthy is also, it's personal, but also necessary. So
totally. Yeah. If you're not healthy, then you're not living at your optimum. And it's a great thing to get out of bed and just have enough energy to get through the day and some. Because if the amount of energy that you've got and what you use through the day is right at the limit, then you're just going to go to bed and just crash. Whereas if you've got enough in reserve for whatever your daily life is, working and being active, then if you've got some left in the tank, you're going to feel great all day long. And that, to me, is what we should aspire to, is to have plenty left in the tank at the end of every day.
I like it. So Carmen, same question. What is fitness and the value? Because that's also an important part of it.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Steve just shared. There was a really well put, what you said there. So I sort of feel like, one thing that I always say is that fitness is a lifestyle and it should literally fit into your life, right? So if you are noticing that your fitness plan is causing you much more stress than it's filling you with energy and life, then something has to change, right? You got to take a look at the entirety of your life, your schedule, your commitments, your energy level, like really look at everything in your life and find some healthy balance there for yourself, right? That's why, I also like to incorporate the word wellness next to fitness when it comes to my approach to my work, because like Steve was saying, fitness means something different for everyone, right? One person can have a fitness goal of, being a bodybuilder, and another person can just be like, I just want to get up and go for a walk every single day, and that feels like fitness for me, right? So it's also about getting really clear on what it is that person is wanting, right? What do you want specifically? Why do you want it? Why is it so important for you? And then from there, building a plan around that, because that is what fitness means to them. But when you look at wellness and you add wellness to that, wellness is, feeling at your optimum. Wellness is being able to live vibrantly. Well, wellness is that deep self-care that keeps us feeling at our most, full day to day. So that's why I like to incorporate both of those words together when we talk about, fitness. I think wellness really sinks into that in an important aspect as well.
Agreed. Really, really good point. And Susan is nodding. So Susan, your take on this?
For me, fitness is just having the strength and energy to do what you want to do. Like Steve was talking about the difference between sprinting and long, marathons. Hockey is an anaerobic sport. So during the pandemic, switching over to hiking is more of an aerobic sport. And so I found that it did nothing for getting back on the ice. For the first few weeks now, it's you pretty much, I can sprint down one length of the ice. And now that we're on week 3 or 4, I can do one length and a half before I have to get off and take a break. And so I thought it was interesting that the aerobic and the anaerobic work together, but it didn't help as much as I thought it would. Another thing that when I was in my 20s, I kind of associated fitness with being thin and fitting into everything and being that perfect image that you see on the front of a magazine. And my idea of fitness in my 40s is I just want to move without pain and have the muscle mass to be able to do that. And so I think kind of shedding that perfect image that is unattainable for most people, and in some ways is not even fit. I think that that's really important when you think about what fitness is.
It's something that changes over time in perspective. And I love how young Steve thinks we are. So thank you. Carmen is young, as are we all. But I do remember. See, I think the 80s, and I remember all the big hair and the fitness videos, right?
And the leg warmers.
And the leg warmers.
Headbands.
That was like the thing, right? That was the stereotype of what, and I remember I took, it was aerobic dance in high school, and I loved the class, but it was more aerobics than dance. Let's just get this straight. But it really goes back to the F word, fun. Mm-hmm. If you're doing some sort of fitness that you enjoy, you're more likely to do it. So this is, my next question is, so what is your favorite form of fitness? And do you have an embarrassing fitness story? And maybe I'll share mine, we'll see. Carmen, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when we say what's my favorite form of fitness, it changes over time. It literally changes. There was a time where I loved weight training, right? And right now in my life, I'm not feeling that. Right now, I love hiking and yoga. Sometimes I love taking dance classes because I have a dance background. So I'll get back into that. It literally changes as I change over the few years. You know, I had a spin class phase at one point, and I think that's all beautiful because I'm meeting myself where I'm at moment by moment, but I'm still constantly moving and still doing what brings me joy. So it's always about checking in with where you are and just not beating yourself up because what you were doing before isn't fun anymore. Find the next thing that's fun and do that, right? So right now, I guess my most favorite thing, especially now that I'm living in California and we have hiking and sunshine, is really hiking a lot, walking a lot, getting out of the house. We've been in the house for a year and a half, and yoga. Yoga's really been really beneficial for me for stretching and just for mindfulness lately. So I love that. I don't know if there is I can't think of an embarrassing exercise moment right now.
Well, you can think about it.
Yeah,
and circle back.
Yeah.
It's true. And so I was the yoga girl for a while. Uh-huh. And then I went from there. I practiced Aikido for 9 years. And then I went from Aikido to dancing. So talk about the two most opposite forms of exercise, mm-hmm. but they're all about getting centered in your own space and bringing the clarity and the serene and or happiness factor. So as different as they are, I think they're really similar. I will decide if I want to share my embarrassing fitness story. So but first let's go over to Susan. And so you've mentioned lots. Do you play favorites with your fitness? Because you do a lot of different things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I play ice hockey now that it's back. And right now I'm only playing 1 day a week. When my second team comes back, if it does, then that's 2 to 3 days a week. And I hike anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, like a couple miles. I was big into yoga and I still love it, but I'm dealing with wrist injuries, which makes yoga difficult to do. And then I also have a shoulder injury. So then if you're doing yoga on your forearms, then it puts the pressure on your shoulders. So I would have to do a really adaptive form of yoga to be able to get around that. One thing that I do is, because I write out a weekly list of things to do, and I always have hike 1, hike 2, hike 3, and hockey on it. So those days that I'm like, I don't really feel like going out today, and I know that I'll feel better if I go out, I just don't feel like it. I see that like, I can knock that off my list and I can have the satisfaction of crossing it out. And once I get out, I tell myself, like, you could turn around at any point. You can just go out like 5 minutes out, 5 minutes back. But I always do, like once I'm out, I'm fine. And one thing with hiking, once I took that up a couple months in, I noticed I don't get migraines anymore. It's very rare. So I thought that was really weird, whether it's being outdoors and like the sunlight and a different type. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting side effect that I did not expect. And it goes to more the wellness side of things, I guess, than fitness. And those, yeah, so hockey and hiking are pretty much my two main things. And they're like anaerobic, like it's two very different things. I don't have like an embarrassing thing. I mean, there have been points that like I have used hockey skills while hiking because in California, especially without rain and on hills, the soil becomes like ball bearings and your feet can slide out from under you. And the hockey skill is that you immediately drop. You drop your butt down. And so I can fall without like even hitting the ground, like not even like your feet slide out and I'm just like, boom. And without having to like break my wrists trying to break my fall. I have used one skill and brought it over to the other, but I wouldn't say that's like embarrassing because it's like, it's something that happens.
I feel like I should have rephrased the question, and you gave me a great answer. So let's make that the question is, what are skills that you've learned from one exercise that you've transferred over to another? Because I love that you've been able to use them both in that integration. I think that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I mean, the only embarrassing thing that I can think of that happened, and it didn't happen to me, is somebody on my hockey team, and this was years ago, was going out, and I did a story on this for public radio, so she's fine with me talking about it, but she was going out afterwards, and she had like lingerie type underwear, and she didn't realize it got stuck in her pants, and so as she was skating on the ice, she was dropping like a G-string and like a bra, and the ref is like, what is this stuff on the ice? And he comes over to our bench and asks us like, can you give me an extra stick? Because he didn't want to touch it because he didn't know what it was. And so he lifts this thing up with her stick and she's like, oh my God. And then the thing was that somebody else on the team also panicked at that same moment because apparently they had the same thing and they thought it was theirs. And so that's probably the most embarrassing thing that I've seen, but it didn't happen to me. But it was really funny. And it would only happen at a women's hockey game. But I haven't seen anything like that since.
I love that. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm reinstating the embarrassing question and saying it could be someone else. And Steve.
Oh, I've got everything ready for you. And Susan, if you had to come hiking here in Australia, you could have used your hockey skills, but you probably would have needed your stick for the snakes.
Yeah, well, we have snakes here too. I've had to turn around like a couple weeks ago. I couldn't get a rattlesnake to move.
Yep.
Usually can stomp your feet and they'll get out of the way, but I think it was stalking a bird's nest.
Oh.
And I could not get it to move and I couldn't go around it. And so it's like, you know, me versus a rattlesnake, it wins. I'm turning around.
Well, because I was a high-level athlete for quite some time and probably for too many damn years, I wore out a few joints here and there. And so cycling is one of my main methods of choice, and I absolutely love cycling because you can travel so far. And where we live here around the harbours of Sydney, we travel up and down the coastline, and it's just gorgeous getting out with the guys and having a cycle. But the other thing is also swimming, because I'm about 200 yards from the beach, and when we're swimming most of the time, we're just swimming straight over the top of fish, and it's just you just zone out and just swim, and it's just awesome. So they're the two things. Swimming is not really competitive, but the cycling is for me, and most of the time I'm just competing with me. You know, I'll get home and I'll check my Strava. How did I go today? Did I go? And there's always has to be one little segment that I have a crack at. Could be different segments each of the time, and that's just the competitive nature of me wanting to just compete against myself. But embarrassing at the time, it wasn't embarrassing. It was actually quite lucrative. But now, when my son, sees the old photos of what I did, he says, "Don't ever show them to anyone ever again," because many years ago, I was invited to speak at a health-related fitness conference in London for kids' fitness and activities programs. And they had an adult aerobic convention straight after it, a week later. And they said, "Look, Steve, if you've got a good aerobic class, that's worthy of a big summit, we'll pay for you to stay the week in London and you can teach there." And I thought, what, a free week in London? I've got to come up. And I was a good, not really good or not even great, right? I was just a good club instructor, but we used to do fun, fancy dress classes. And one of the best we ever did was a country step class, just country music and just crazy music. Like I had 2 songs and I said, yeah, I've got this great class. So I built the class and we had country music and I had a hat and a vest and stuff. And the first thing I taught them was a yeehaw, that whenever you get a move right, you had to do a yeehaw. And then I just turned all the moves into like around the barn, over the hay bale, the do-si-do and stuff like that. And I built a class that was adequate as far as a class goes, but the most fun thing you could have standing up, so they say. So people were coming from all these other different rooms to hear what was going on. And one of our leading aerobic presenters said, Steve, you've got a really cool thing there. Mate, you really need to pick the class up, but the presentation and the fun aspect, you could do something with that. So I gradually built it and got the leather vest with the little tassels on. And I went to this fancy dress hire place and I said, can you make me some chaps that I could get on and off fairly easy? They said, so you're a stripper, are you? And that was it. It was just like, well, I had the vest, the hat, the chaps, and I actually was invited and I taught that in 15 different countries. And
wow.
Yeah, I actually did make 6 figures from teaching that class around the world, getting paid 10 times more than normal aerobic instructors, not because I was the best, but because I delivered something was fun. But when my son sees the pictures of me, and he said, Dad, that's just so embarrassing. How could you do that? I said, I paid a bucket load. But it did. It got me to travel around the world. But it wasn't embarrassing at the time. But it is to my son now. So those photos are just locked away.
I love that. It's a really good example, too, though, of opportunity is the mother of invention. Because look around, I mean, we've been living the last 16, 17, 18 months in some form of lockdown when we've had to be creative. And I love how, well, I sensed you were a pioneer anyway from our last conversation, but that whole pioneer thinking, okay, what do people need? What is my spin? And you also, I'm having another flashback now. I did ballroom dance in college and I had so much fun. I was on the speech team, but there were some really competitive dance contests for some of our meets. So I started ballroom dancing. And then after I graduated and moved back home, the only ballroom dance classes involved very sweaty men who were 30 years or so older than me. So I started line dancing and that was so much fun. So apparently you were a pioneer of something I enjoyed a few years later. So I thank you.
Well, I use that as a marketing example to everybody that are afraid of being a leader or an authority. Yeah, I was not the best aerobic instructor in the world, but there was that one little thing that I was good at, and that took me around the world. You know, most of the time I was doing that, I was the world's leading country step instructor. There just happened to be one of us. But it's like, well, find your niche, create your category of one, and then just get out there and do it. And it's, A, it was a lot of fun doing it, but B, it's a great marketing example now in a lot of the things that I teach.
It's a wonderful example. And so I feel like I'm going to ask Susan and Carmen, is there something that you do that you believe sets yourself apart in your approach and niche and what have you? Carmen, are you thinking, should I ask Susan first?
I think for me, it is the integration of really tapping into self, right? And really trusting that you know what you need. I do a lot of, I incorporate like meditation and stuff into my work. And I also really, encourage something that I call an intuitive check-in, which is like, even if we have a plan set for you this week, like we have your fitness plan, this is what you're going to do. I always encourage my clients to take a couple breaths before it's time for them to begin and to check in with themselves. on where they are right now. How are you right now emotionally, physically? Have you eaten? Are you hydrated? Are you stressed? Is this specific workout in alignment with where you are right now? And if it's not, you have that permission, find that permission within yourself to shift the plan, to meet yourself where you are today. And instead of an intense workout, if you're not in alignment with that today, then maybe do a yoga or do a stretch or take a rest day. And you know, that's different, because a lot of, you know, in my many years in the fitness industry, a lot of people are like, if you're not doing this, you're not going to get your goals. You got to push, you got to push. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to ask yourself, is this going to set me forward, or is it going to set me back? You know what I mean? So I really encourage my clients to listen in and to check in and to give themselves permission to meet themselves where they are right now. And this is even an indicator that if they're finding that constantly they're having to change what's going on in their plan, then something else needs to shift in your life, you know? So this comes back to that self-awareness of, man, I really can't keep up with this plan. So is there something wrong with the plan? Is it not for me? Or am I like not setting boundaries in my life, you know? Or is there something else going on that's bigger, that's not letting me stick to what it is that I want to do? So I think, you know, just bringing in that sense of deep self-awareness and like self-love and just that connection, you know, that inner connection is something unique from what I've experienced with trainers or coaches or classes and stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is something else that I teach is the whole, I'm all about, you know, figuring out ways to set yourself up for success. So completely in agreement. I tell people before you set your goals, look at your week, look at your life, and do what's feasible, because you want to get those gold stars. You want to feel good about your progress, and you can't do it if you're in forcing mode. So right. I love how applicable that is to so many different things. Yes. And Susan, what do you think? I mean, I love how and I love this Susan story, because Susan, like I mentioned before, took one of my workshops years ago, and it was before I renamed everything the Deb method, but she uses my mission and motto with the classes that she teaches. So I always use you as an example of how even when I rebranded myself, it was the system, it just the new name. And I think the fact that you do so many different things in addition to your active lifestyle, I think that really sets you apart. But you tell me, this is my take on you. You can do your take on you now.
Well, I think this doesn't have to do with fitness. When I had like a regular, 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it job, before I went freelance, I worked my life around work. And once I went freelance, I now work around my life. So it was a change in mindset. I work fewer hours. I do enough to where it's like, I make enough money. That's fine. Like, I'm not totally motivated by like, I need to make the most money possible. I'm more motivated by like, okay, I can go out and do stuff now. And so, and that's my personality. It might not be yours. I don't know. And so that's how I kind of think about everything, so if it's like I could go out hiking this afternoon and do a bit of work tonight, and like I ran errands today and I really didn't get a lot of work stuff done because my brain actually didn't feel in it today, and that's totally fine. Like, it's not the constructs of our American work life is like they're all just made up. Like the 40-hour work week is a random like number that was chosen by somebody at some point in time. And so realizing that you can make your life what you want it to be, with fitness involved, that's totally fine. And that, you can have a happy life that way. Yeah. I'm like, I was thinking I had an answer to your question, and now I have like a 40s moment where I can't remember what the question was.
But the common theme too is what you all are saying, and it applies to fitness and life, is yourself, know your capabilities, know what you want, and work towards it in whatever that means for you.
If I'm tired out hiking and maybe I am dehydrated from the day before, or I had a hockey game 2 days ago and my body isn't fully recovered yet, I don't beat myself up if I have to take 5 breaks going up a hill. That on most days I can usually make it. And so I think having that, you know, I passed somebody on the trail once, and it seemed like she had just kind of started doing that kind of thing. And she was like kind of embarrassed for having, like, she was sitting down at like a viewpoint area, and she was like, oh, it's, you know, and I'm like, I take breaks all the time. That's no, like, it's not a problem. And on days that you're tired, I think it's important to look to why you're tired. Like, are you, you know, if you have a reason, it's like, okay, that's cool. But like, if it's like, I'm tired because I'm doing too much work stuff and I don't have enough balance, like that's where it's one area where you can make assessment of your life while you're doing fitness stuff. So like today, I was going to go on a hike, and I'm not going on a hike today for fitness. I'm going on a hike today because I don't see a fog bank, so I think I can see the ocean if I go to the other side of this hill where I live. And I need to do some thinking, and being out in nature and around and watching birds and looking at bugs. And for me, that's how my brain processes things. And so I know that I need that. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to be able to function as well for the rest of the week. And so understanding those connections between that it's not just, it goes back to the wellness thing. It's not just fitness. It's not just fitness of your body. It's fitness of your mind and everything else that goes with it.
Agreed. Definitely. Fitness is the mind, the body, the spirit, the whole you. Maybe I should have called it wellness. No, too late. Fitness. We're on fitness. And so what do you have to say to people who are like, I don't want to work out. Oh, it's too time consuming. Oh, it takes too much energy. What words of wisdom do you have to like snap someone? No, you have to be healthy. Steve.
Probably I would use my warm, caring, sharing sort of way and say, get over it and get out there. But yeah, most of the time I would, if it was somebody that I was working with, and I teach all of my people, and I live by it myself, the 4 Bs, and in this order: brain, body, brand, business. And the people I work with are business people. And so the brain is all about the mindset, and business and life is all about your mindset. But the body, I instill in them that if your body falls apart or you're not performing physically at your optimum, you can't perform mentally at your optimum, therefore your business will fall apart. So I instill in them whatever it is, and then we could work through, because of the background I've got, to be able to set some plan for them. And then obviously it's the brand and the actual business itself. But one of the things that I'd love to touch on, if we can, is the morning routine. To me is crucial for everybody. And I get all of my people to just build their own morning routine. The first 10 minutes of every day to build their own non-negotiable morning routine. And I'll share mine real quickly. Is I wake up, I do a quick debrief meditation, and then find one thing that I'm going to be excited about that day before my feet are allowed to hit the ground. So that every day I get up excited. My feet are not allowed to hit the ground unless I've found something that I get excited about. Then the next thing is rehydrate and reoxygenate. Deep breathing, cross-patterning kinesiology, and I'll mix up whichever elixir that I'm going to be making up for the day. And it's got to put water back in. Then it's journaling. Then generally it's some form of exercise. I'll be either out on the bike or I'll have a little workout at home. Then social media, and then life starts. And all of that's usually done before 7 a.m. So I have my set non-negotiable 10 minutes. And then after that, depending on whether it's a cycling day or whatever day, it sets it up. And that's probably one of the best things that you could get people. People that don't have the energy to do anything usually sleep in late. And if all they did was every week get up 5 minutes earlier, I got this little trick when daylight saving ends, I still keep getting up at the same time. So my normal getting up time is 5. Well, then I'll keep getting up at 4 because that's the earth time. And that's normally when I'll start writing a book, because then from 4 to 5 is I can just start writing. I'm not going to get interrupted. No one else is up at that stupid hour. So I'll pick up that time to have a little project from the end of daylight saving until, you know, I start getting back into the winter time slot. So it's not so much telling them what to do, is giving them tools and tips to enable them to do it.
I have a feeling we may revisit this in a few minutes when I ask about your goals for the audience, but maybe you want to put a different spin. I don't know. It's actually one of the things that you and I discussed when we had our call that stuck in my mind. And I do get up thinking I should drink more water and breathe more, and that's your fault. So I thank you. So Carmen, what do you have to say to those who are fitness averse?
I think first I would really encourage curiosity around their relationship to fitness and their past experiences to fitness. I would really be curious as to why they feel this way, right? A lot of times what I notice is that because they hated their fitness plan in the past, their fitness plan didn't work for them. So they're like, why am I continuously doing this? And it's usually something that they completely hated, but they felt like this was their only way that they can lose weight or be fit or whatever the case is. So now they have this thing going in their head about it has to look this way or I can't do it at all. And I don't like that. So I don't want to do it. So I'm going to create all these excuses around it to why I'm not going to do that. So I'd go there first, and then I'd encourage them to kind of what we've been talking about this whole time, what brings you joy, what's fun, what feels good, right? And encourage them to go back to that inner child. When you were a kid, did you like to jump rope? Why not try incorporating some jump roping? Did you like to run? How about incorporating that? What do you feel about this? Did you like to dance? How about a dance fitness class? Are you a bike rider? Try bike riding or cycling. You know, playing around with different things, exploring, playing and exploring and finding what works and what brings you joy. And, you know, and just moment, you know, like the same thing with me, like finding yourself where you are, playing around with things, seeing what feels good for you, and then giving that a go, and being a little less like just taking some of the edge off of it, being more playful with it, you know.
I love it. Love it. And Susan?
So I'm the opposite of Steve. I sleep in late and I stay up late, but it's the same reason. I mean, I'm naturally a night owl. I'm freelance, so I can set my own hours. I know I don't have to get up. If I exercise in the morning, I feel physically ill. So like I literally feel like throwing up if I do exercise in the morning. So my body is like, no. And so I am a late afternoon, early evening exerciser. I have hockey games at night, and that fits my whatever lifestyle or body or whatever. So I would say, you know, like if somebody was telling me get up early to exercise, that wouldn't work for me because it just doesn't work with my body, and it doesn't work with how I live. I stay up late, and for the same reason that Steve gets up early, it's quiet and I can get a lot done. And I found that my brain works the best between like noon, well, not even noon, like probably like 1 p.m. to 2 a.m. is when my brain works the best. And I've realized that over a lifetime. And it's like, I'm not in a 9-to-5 job. I can do that. Now, if I have to get up early, I will plan my schedule and do that. But my fitness stuff comes later in the day. You know, there are certain friends that I invite out all the time who keep saying, oh, I need to get fit. Oh, I need to get in shape. Oh, I wish I could do that. And they never come. So really it's just you invite them over and over again, and they keep saying they want to, but it's really a personal choice where you've really got to make that commitment yourself. And I think the other thing that is important to realize, and Carmen touched on this a little bit, is that, you know, like 10 years ago, I was playing hockey and I was doing yoga, and I wasn't doing hiking so much unless I was traveling. You don't have to pick one thing and stick to it for the rest of your entire life. Like, you might like it now and you might find something later that you like better, and then you kind of transition to doing more of that. And there's nothing wrong with kind of experimenting and seeing what you like and what you might want to. There's so much stuff. There's like trampoline parks. There's pickleball. There's, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of sports and things you can do that go beyond weightlifting and, you know, and running and kind of the basic stuff that you think of when you think fitness. There's all sorts of things that you can do. I know Deb, and I have another friend who does this too. They take hip hop classes. Like, that's not me. But like, hip hop classes, like, people come out of those like drenched in sweat. Like, it's not like you're not doing anything during the class. And I think some people might not think of that as fitness, but it totally is. And so it's really kind of being willing to make the commitment to try stuff. But you really need to dig down and make that commitment, because if you don't make it, like, you commit to a job and you might commit to, you know, well, hopefully if you have kids, like, you commit to kids, or if I am committed to a cat for 15 years or however long she's around, you have to make that same commitment to yourself, and that you want to keep your body around. And so you have to make that commitment to yourself.
Well, this sounds like a wonderful transition into sharing some goals for the audience. So make the commitment to yourself is great. I kind of paraphrased. Yeah, I speak. Paraphrased what you said, which is, you know, find what works for you time-wise and exercise-wise, right? Make the commitment. Anything that I talk about goals-wise is really choosing yourself, deciding I want my life to be better for this, that, or the other reason, and committing the time and the energy. So on the topic of fitness, what is a good fitness goal that you can gift to our audience? And it can be a goal that you want to do yourself, or something that you think would be helpful to others. So Susan, do you want to start by sharing your goal?
Well, my personal goal this season in hockey, having not skated since March of last year, I look and feel stiff on the ice, and I've sort of backpedaled into bad habits on skating form. And so my goal is actually to push my feet out sideways instead of back, which sounds weird, but if you've skated, you know what I'm talking about. And to bend my knees more. And so that is my goal. Like, I will make a goal per season. Like, you can't get better at everything at the same time. So if you could pick one thing and focus on one thing, I think a good general goal is just to make a commitment to something. Even if it's one day a week, that's better than doing nothing. And so if you can commit to one day a week and start low, then it's like, oh, maybe I can add like a second day. So instead of like going barreling into it saying, I'm going to work out 7 days a week, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So I figure, like, start low and work your way up, and do what you can do. Make that commitment to yourself.
Love it. And Steve, what goal do you wish to share for yourself and/or?
I'm going to do both.
Excellent. Love it.
I had some time off where I was getting some treatment on some joints, and I'm working my way back. And we've got a few big hills that we go up and on. And one of the things is to get the times down. And that's really, really happening fairly quickly, which is great. When I set up the club, the first goals we ever set anybody that attended were attendance goals. They were not weight loss goals. They were not any sort of workout goals, but an attendance goal. Your first 3 weeks, your goal is to turn up, to show up. And so that to me is one of the best things that somebody could do starting out. The other thing is setting a goal that is a stretch but achievable. Set the plan, but then look for something to do extra every day. What is it that I could do? And what happens is most people will set a plan and it's right on the limit. And that thing called life always happens. And then they start falling behind. And that gives them the losing effect. It's like, well, what's the point of setting goals? And you know how to teach people, Deb, so you know exactly what I'm talking about here.
I do.
Whereas if we set a goal that is a stretch, but it's achievable, and then they start doing things a little more, a little harder, or a little better, they get that winning effect. And the big thing that happens with us as humans and other animals is when we have a win and we create those wins, we have a surge of dopamine and testosterone. And that's there to give us the strength, the energy, and the confidence to go for a bigger kill, as our, you know, prehistoric days. So we should always try and create wins along the way and celebrate those wins. Yeah, hey, I did 2 sessions this week instead of 1. Yay, celebrate the wins. And that way you're actually getting that surge of greater confidence, and it happens physiologically and psychologically that you get that greater ability to do that next level and then that next level. And what they're doing is, before they know it, they've smashed through that goal and on their way to the next one. So set it in a way that you're winning, and don't beat yourself up, and make sure that you do take time out to celebrate the wins and congratulate yourself.
Celebrate everything. I am so with you on this. So Carmen, what goal do you have for our viewers?
Yeah, people? This was one that started for me, and then I've been kind of shouting it from the rooftops for the past, like year or a few months, if you will. With COVID and the last year and a half, we've all spent so much time at home. A lot of us are still working from home and don't plan to go back to the office maybe ever, right? So there's less commuting, there's less walking around, you're not going to lunch with your friends and doing all these things anymore. So a lot of us are just moving way, way less. So I encourage people, one, daily walks is a big thing for me. But what I really encourage people is, if you're spending hours at your desk, like at the computer, on phone calls, and you're realizing that you're not moving anymore, schedule on your phone a little alarm that will go off where you can give yourself a 10-minute time to go for a neighborhood walk, or to get on the floor and do some stretching, or to move your body and to just release and revive your energy, so that way you can get back in and work rather than just like pounding over your computer for hours. So literally, even after you put the alarm on, just to say, this is me time, and get up and just move that body. And I actually even created a free video, which is stretch at your desk in 10 minutes or less, because somebody needs that. Some people need that guidance sometimes. So here's 10 minutes of stretching at your desk, at the chair. You don't have to go too far just to get the blood flowing and to encourage you to move, essentially. So I would love to drop that link to the freebie somewhere, or you can go to my website. I can give you that information as well, or to my Instagram and click the link so you can get that. But just move daily. If you're at your desk, set an alarm for yourself to move, to stretch, to breathe, to flow.
Well, wonderful, wonderful tip. And yes, please send me the link, and you can get the all this information, the recaps, where you can get at thedebmethod.com/blog. So I will be sure to put your link in the recap as well. And before we wrap, please, real quick, tell me where people can find you. Carmen.
Well, you can come to my website. It's www.intuitivelyfit360.com, or you can find me on Instagram at at intuitivelyfit_360_coaching.
Wonderful. I don't know why thank you. And Steve, where can people find you?
I make it simple. My website is stevebrossman.com. That's 2 S's. If they want to find out or really want to connect with me, LinkedIn is my preferred platform. Use the same name. I do. It's always handy. If they really do have any real questions, they want to reach out at all, I answer all my emails personally. So it's steve@stevebrossman.com. If they really want to take the time to send me an email, I'll take the time to answer it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And Susan, where can people find you?
I'm at, it'd be here. I'm at Susan on Twitter. It's Susan Valot, so SUSANVALOT. It's probably the easiest way. I also have susanvalot.com, which is like my portfolio site. So it's not so much fitness, although you will find a couple. The last like 2 out of 3 stories I've done have been hiking stories, because now, because I post on Twitter and stuff all the time, hiking photos, editors will come to me and be like, hey, we have a story we want to do it, and it involves hiking. Can you do it for us? So I've kind of inadvertently formed a niche without realizing it.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Steve Brossman, Carmen Miranda, and Susan Valot for joining today's Goal Chat Live. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling. You can find me at The Deb Method everywhere, and LinkedIn is also one of my preferred platforms, but basically you can just look for Deb. These are wonderful tips and fantastic fitness goals. Thank you all so much for sharing your time. And those who are watching, thank you for choosing your health and your fitness and your wellness. And whenever you're thinking about those fitness goals, just remember, you can do it.